Hello everyone, this is Taliesin McKnight. Thank you for joining me today. Today's subject is Jungian psychology, which is also called analytical psychology. Jungian or analytical psychology was developed by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung. Jungian psychology is based on the idea of the unconscious, and that we not only have a personal, individual unconscious mind, but that there is also this collective unconscious. So Carl Jung taught that there is the unconscious mind. This unconscious mind has all of your memories. It is a reservoir. It is the part of your mind that you're not consciously aware of. So your conscious mind is what you're aware of, your thoughts, what you're thinking about, whereas the unconscious is all that aspect of the mind of which we are not aware. It is the place where your memories go. It is also the place where we have suppressed material. So, in Jungian psychology, it is basically based on the idea that we sometimes suppress certain desires. We suppress certain things in ourselves. And this could cause problems. So Jungian psychology, you try to integrate unconscious material. You try to bring unconscious material to the surface. By making the unconscious conscious in a sense, this is a form of self-awakening or self-knowledge. Individuation is the process of becoming whole. And Jung symbolized this by the archetype of the self, which he often represented by the mandala. The self is the regulating aspect of the psyche. The self is the symbol of wholeness. The self has your whole being within it. So Jung believed that we have unconscious material. And bringing that unconscious material to the surface is a part of self-realization and awakening. Now, Jung had the idea of the collective unconscious and archetypes. Now, what is this? This is what Freud called the archaic remnants. Things and images and symbols that don't have anything to do with your personal experience, but could be seen as a shared aspect of humanity, so that we all get these images, and that there is an aspect of the mind that is not just individual, it is a collective mind. What that means is that we inherit certain traits. For example, a bird somehow knows how to fly. How did it get that knowledge? How does a bird know how to fly? How do animals automatically know how to mate? Things like that. How do animals instinctively know how to do things? And the idea is that there is an inherited mind, an inherited aspects of their psyche, to where a bird knows how to be a bird, a frog knows how to be a frog. So you have these archetypes which repeat themselves in your mythologies. They repeat themselves in symbols and in myth. Jung studied different mythologies. Jung studied these things, and he came up with the idea that there are certain patterns in mythologies. There are certain patterns, such as the trickster deity. You have patterns like the mother archetype. Now, this is an example. We all inherit an idea of mother. The idea of mother is not taught to us. It's within the collective unconscious. You were born having the idea of mother already there. And that a child, when being in close proximity to a maternal figure, that fits the archetypal template enough. That mother figure fits that archetype. So the kid gets this idea of mother. You have the father. We have the idea of the hero. Now, Jungian psychology partially was a way, of course, to treat mental illness. So that if you had anxiety or certain phobias, maybe there's something bad happened to you in your life and you need to bring this unconscious material to the surface so that you could have an anxiety every time you get around. Let's say you have social anxiety. Let's say if you go into a group of people, you get nervous and freak out. Is there something that happened in your past? Can you go back into your memory and bring this unconscious material to the surface? And this, in a way, bringing this unconscious material to the surface could affect healing, in a sense. Someone that has a phobia of water, what happened? So bringing this unconscious material to the surface could affect healing. Now, Jungian psychology is not just for the sick. It's not just for the mentally ill. Jungian psychology has the process of individuation, self-actualization. And everybody can get something from that. So, we have what we call the shadow. The shadow is everything about yourself that you suppress. It is the qualities that you don't like to recognize in yourself. So your shadow is what you suppress within yourself. Certain things like mental laziness, desires that you're like, sexual urges, things that you don't want to recognize in yourselves. Sometimes people may have sexual ideas that may come off perverted. No, that's not me. Or we have certain fears. We have anger. So by suppressing and not acknowledging something in yourself, it actually creates this shadow. And the less that your shadow is actually in the process of individuation, you need to integrate your shadow. So let's take an example. Let's say that you're a soldier. You're in the army. You're a tough man, and you don't acknowledge any weakness. You're trained to be tough. You don't acknowledge any sensitivity, any part of that. So where outwardly you're the strong man warrior, your shadow is the sensitive, caring, whatever, Or let's say you go to prison for assault, and you're around all these like really big, tough dudes. You have to suppress that caring, emotional side, or you won't make it in prison, y'all. So by repressing this, your shadow could be this sensitive, caring part of yourself. So the shadow's not always bad. A lot of times people like to act like the shadow is evil, which it's not always. The shadow could have positive qualities. However, usually what we tend to not acknowledge in ourselves is bad. Most people bring all their positive qualities to the surface. People usually suppress the bad stuff, and that is why the shadow is often seen as negative. So part of becoming whole, self-realization, is being able to get in touch with your shadow, to bring that to the surface and reintegrate that into your psyche. Your anima, or animus. The anima is the female aspect of a man's psyche. The animus is the masculine side of a woman. So in a society where you have the separation of gender roles, especially when you are taught to be a man, or as a woman you're taught to be a lady, that when you suppress the male or female aspect of your psyche, that produces what is called the anima, or the anima, female side, or the animus, the suppressed masculine aspect. Now, the process of wholeness requires you to have to become a balanced human being. So, a real masculine man gets in touch with his femininity. A real feminine woman gets in touch with her masculinity. So, you create wholeness. So, to suppress your feminine qualities and not bring that to the surface, that is suppressed into your unconscious. So after you come into contact with your shadow, then you start bringing your other gender side to the surface and reintegrating it into your consciousness. So your shadow, your inner feminine or masculine, whatever that you suppress in yourself, the process of integration is bringing it to the surface and having what you call wholeness. Carl Jung spent a lot of time studying alchemy and things like that. And if you look at alchemy, a lot of times self-realization, the great work, the magnum opus, is symbolized by an androgynous male-female hermaphroditic figure. So creating wholeness. So by integrating unconscious material, you obtain self-realization. Now the archetypes such as the father or the mother figure, this is a way for us to instinctively understand the world. It's part of what makes us human. It's how we relate to mother or father, or male and female, or how we all have the idea of the hero figure. Just look at the movie industry. You see the hero or you see the villain archetype. So that our mythologies, even our movies, our fantasy, our storytelling, all expresses these archetypes. And it all shows how the psyche is organized. And that we all have these archetypes within ourselves. We all have the hero, the trickster, the mother, the father. All of that exists within each and every one of us. And assimilating these archetypes is a way to not only integrate your individual unconscious aspects, but also to get in touch with the collective unconscious and reunite with the collective aspect of humanity. So this is a very small introduction. I don't have a lot of space here, but that is a very basic look at Jungian psychology, bringing hidden material to the surface and reintegrating it to create the whole integrated personality, to have individuation, to become whole.